Jack of all, master of none.
Hello everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining. We're going to replace a faucet today. That is our task, and it's a little bit moldy, more than a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and pour some rubbing alcohol on here, and I'm going to let that kind of soak in and start to kill that mold. And then we're going to go underneath here with our measuring tape. I'm going to figure out what kind of replacement faucet to buy. So we've got a 3-hole faucet, and then we're going to want to measure the center of the outside holes. So that is, hopefully you guys can see, 4 inches on center from outer hole to outer hole. So we're going to go to Home Depot and make sure that we can pick up something that's going to fit. So this is what we picked up at Home Depot. It's Moen Branbury brushed nickel finish. And as you can see on the back here, we've got a 4-inch center set, and it's a 3-hole setup. So this is going to work for us today. So what I've actually realized in working down here is that this is a pretty atypical setup. We are in a modular home, and I'm not entirely familiar with a lot of I don't know, there's different intricacies with modular homes, but this is definitely one of them. This isn't a very standard water line, right? It's not that flex piping with a normal brass fitting on the top. You actually take this off, and if you guys can see, we have, let me tilt the camera up a little bit. There's another nipple that threads into the opening of the brass fitting of the rest of the water line that goes to the faucet, and that has some really heavy adhesive in it. And the same thing going on down here. I've already taken these off, and we also have the same deal. This is just a slip-on, and there's another, I guess that would be a compression fitting, just like the one on top, glued onto the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this whole setup. We're going to replace this line. So what I'm doing for now, just to get the new faucet on without having to deal with that adhesive, is I just went ahead and cut it. That way we can keep moving up here for the sake of the video. So for the drain plug, I'm going to go ahead and pinch this clip and slide that off just like so. So that's detached. And then up top, I don't know if you guys can see, it's pretty rusty, but right on the outside edge of those holes, there's some bolts coming through and holding down the faucet to the sink. We're gonna go ahead, let's see if I can point this out to you guys. Right here, we're gonna loosen these. So after a little bit of research and contemplation, I've come to realize that I'm gonna need to cut this, what's called PBE. This is polybutylene pipe, stuff that's getting phased out, getting replaced with PEX. We're gonna have to cut that, put a shark bite coupling, and then get a little piece of PEX to tie into another valve coupling, a shark bite valve coupling, and then we can then tie in our normal threaded faucet lines for hot and cold. Now, at least for my Home Depot, they're phasing out, like I just said, the PBE, the polybutylene supplies. So I couldn't find a shark bite coupling that had a male threaded end. What I did find was one that had a PBE shark bite coupling on one end, and then a PEX shark bite coupling on the other. So that means I had to buy a short stick of PEX to attach to that end, and then I am able to get the PEX valve shark bite coupler, tie that in, and then I've got the exposed male threaded end. I can then attach it to the hot and cold faucet lines here. Now, with attaching any of this plastic piping, what I've been told is it's essential that your cuts are exact and straight and deburred, so no sharp edges, no little pieces sticking out. So I've got the proper tools here. This is a PEX tube cutter between 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Make sure you get the right size. And then the deburred tool, there's multiple different sizes to insert. So after we make that straight cut, we stick the end into here, we give it a couple twists, and then we can insert it into our couplers. And I'm also going to need some thread tape and a crescent wrench. I got that deep 7/16 inch socket. And now we're committed. I'm going to go turn the water off, and once I cut that line, there is no going back. Now I'm going to use our PVC cutter. Sorry, PEX cutter. And we are going to make a nice straight cut. Now I'm using the deburring tool. I'm using it for the 1/2 inch fitting that we have here. Just pop this on and twist it around. The next thing we're going to do is put the shark bite on. And I was instructed to put it on, of course, as straight as possible, because if you have any kinks, or if it doesn't go in perfectly straight, you're going to get a leak. So next we're going to cut 2, maybe 4-inch pieces of PEX to add on to that. And then we're going to tie in the shark bite valve to the top of those. We're going to do that with the same method, the same cutter, the same deburring tool. Now, just so I don't have to do so much work down here, I'm going to attach the valves up above and then insert these guys down in here like so. When you're pushing that in, you have 2 points of resistance, right? You pass that first point, and then there's a second point where it kind of finally clicks in. That's where you want to be. And of course, we're going to test this by turning our water back on, and hopefully we don't have any leaks. Now, I just turned the water back on, just a partial turn of the valve. I don't want to do it full bore just in case there is a leak and stuff starts spraying everywhere. So far we're looking pretty good. We're going to have our socket wrench. We're going to have a couple extensions on there because it's pretty tight. And then we have our deep 7/16 inch socket. We're also going to have the hand crank replacement for the ratchet just in case we don't have the space down there. We can just we can still get that nut off. Crescent wrench. Of course, the Teflon tape for all the threaded connections. We have the 100% waterproof silicone caulking. Needle nose pliers pretty much come in handy for all situations. I always have these guys with me, and a flathead screwdriver. That's probably just going to be for any prying or scraping that we need of existing old caulking. And of course, the new faucet that we're going to put in. We're going to clean that with whatever we have handy right now. Rubbing alcohol, probably get like a scraper tool if you guys have one, like a joint knife, or even a chisel. And we'll clean this up before we install the new one. So this is our new faucet. And it actually comes with the gasket. And I'm looking at the instructions, and it doesn't even call for any using any silicone. So we can go ahead and take that back, take that off the list. This is going to sit here. Make sure you look and see which side is the top. And it says right there. So that's going to sit like that. That's going to pop in here. And then we've got these vinyl nuts to screw in on the bottom. Now before we do that, just to make things a little easier on ourselves, we're going to go ahead and put the the thread tape on now instead of down underneath the sink, because that's going to be a pain in the butt doing that. So thread tape, this is just going to seal the thread from any leakage from any water. So with thread tape, you definitely want to do like 2 passes, and the direction is really important. So looking down into the opening, you want to wrap it clockwise. That way when you turn the nut, you're not pulling it off. So if we wrapped it counterclockwise and then put the nut clockwise, it might unwrap it and bunch it up inside the threading of the nut. So I'm going to start in one spot. That's 1 pass. Make sure you keep some finger pressure on it just to keep it from sliding around. And we've got 2 passes. You can probably do 3, but I know the rule of thumb is 2. I'm going to do that with the other side as well. You also want to make sure that it stays wide and flat. Good. So that'll be okay. I'm going to set that there. And also, we're going to feed our new water hoses up and tighten that above. So we're going to do as much work topside as we can to make our job that much easier, because it hurts being under that sink for a while. So strangely enough, I just had one, despite the label that says 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch, one end was 1/2 inch, the other end was 3/8. So I just had to take that back. The other one was good. One of the reasons why I like doing my videos on the fly, guys, so you can see my mistakes and not make the same ones. I think it's a little bit more effective than me putting together some cookie cutter plastic lined up video. Now, another thing I should have done is I should have put the thread tape on here before I put those guys down. So now I have to wrap that thread tape in an awkward space. I'm 6'2", I'm 190. Getting down in here is it's not the most convenient thing in the world. So the same thing. So we're going to apply the thread tape the exact same way as we did, looking down into the opening. We're going to go clockwise, and we're going to do 2 full passes. So to do that, I'm actually going to have to take this back off. And it looks like we are going to have to go underneath to attach these threads back on. We'll see how the thread tape is held up. Hopefully it's not too stripped. Otherwise we're going to have to rewrap another layer on. It looks like it's okay. I'll still put another layer back on. We're going to attach these on the bottom side and then reattach those hoses. I'm going to go ahead and put some more thread tape on, maybe just 1 layer, and then I'm going to reattach the hoses. Alright, everything's attached, valves are on, faucet works, no water's leaking below, we're good.